Alright, so the bulk of this guitar is going to be this nice mahogany we've got here. You can see this is one board I ordered 2 inches thick. I've already split it, glued it side to side. One thing to note, the board I ordered was only supposed to be 7 inches wide, but what they ended up sending me was about 10 inches wide. So next thing, we're going to go ahead and remove a bunch of material off the side because I don't need the board to be anywhere near this wide. And in particular, I want to get rid of this nasty bit here in the corner. Alright, so now we've just ripped off about 2.5 inches from either side of this blank, and that should leave a little over 1/2 inch extra on either side for the body that I've got planned out. And then we've got this sheet of walnut veneer glued onto the top. And I just think it's going to look a bit nicer than the plain mahogany would have. It's a nice piece of mahogany, just not that exciting to look at, and I think I'm going to get a nice effect out of this. So what I'm going to do now is use some of this extra mahogany that's sticking out of each end to help me find the center line, and then I'm going to transfer my paper template onto the blank. It's been about a week since I've recorded anything on this. You might have noticed the bandsaw wasn't cutting very well in the last clip. And turns out that the reason for that is the drive belt was basically falling apart. And it took a good week just to find another one, so that was annoying. But alright, I've got the body rough cut. I'm going to use the drum sander to work it down to its final shape. Alright, rough shaping is done. Since the last video, I went ahead and made a routing template for both the neck and pickup pockets, and you can see, like in that one pickup pocket that the camera can get into right now, I haven't removed all of the material yet, just most of it with the drill press. I'm going to clean it up with this router. See how it looks. Yeah, it actually fits really nicely. There you go. That's a neck pocket I'm happy with. A few things I've done off camera. Made these pockets a little bit deeper, and made some space for the screws that attach the pickups to the rings. I've also marked out how I want to carve this, and I've started by taking a router around the outside to at least get some of the material out of the way. It also gives me a depth mark here of roughly how deep I want to carve. And then I've also pre-drilled for some of the electronics. A few things I did off camera, mostly because I forgot to record them. I've got holes drilled for the neck attachment. I've got pilot holes drilled for the bridge and tailpiece. I've got these holes drilled for the pots, this one for the switch. I've got this hole for the jack started, and I've got a back pocket for the electronics roughly cut out. And then I also countersank these areas for the little, I forget what they're called, washer things for the neck attachment. Now, The only issue I've got with this particular body design is that my drill press is not wide enough to reach any of these, because the body's just, it won't fit. Which means I get to drill these out by hand. Alright, well, unfortunately, some of the veneer got torn off right here, so I get to glue this back on. Hopefully the camera could actually see that. And hopefully once this is sanded, it won't be visible anymore. So I've got this hole drilled on the back here for the jack, but as you can see, it's not quite wide enough for the jack to fit into it, so that's what I get to work on now. Not the prettiest pocket I've ever carved, but it'll do. And this is the part where I get to sand it by hand. Stick around. $3.20. I'm making a point of sanding with the grain as much as possible. $400. Damp cloth, clean the dust out of this, and raise the grain a little bit. Yeah, that's gonna look good. This carve is nice and smooth though. Alright, so now it's had a little chance to dry. I'm gonna go with 600. Got the entire body polished up to a 600 grit finish. Now I need to put the finish on it. The wood is really soaking it up. You can tell it's almost dry all through here already. Alright, so what I need to do now is make a back plate for the body, and I've got these couple of offcuts from the veneer, and because one sheet of this wouldn't be strong enough on its own, you can see it's kind of bendy, I've got two pieces glued flat together with the grain going in opposite directions. That makes it pretty tough. And I've got the shape drawn on there already. I tried to keep this little knot in it just for appearances. And now I get to cut it out. Take it. I'm gonna need to replace this paper soon. So here we've got the control cavity already shielded, and on purpose I left this a little bit too large, so I'm going to need to work it down a little bit more. There. Now I just need to figure out how to get it back out of there. I use this paper template to mark out where I can drill for the screws to attach the back plate, and I've already transferred those marks onto the plate itself. And I've also finished sanded the plate down to the same degree as the body, and then after these holes are drilled and countersunk, I'm going to finish this the same way that I finished the body. Alright, so the body is essentially done. And I've also got the neck over here, just one I've purchased. There's a little bit of a story behind that I'll get to after the build is done. Right now you can see I've got the ground wire set in here. Just going to finish pulling that through, and then I'm going to put in at least the pins for the bridge. These aren't as necessary right now, but I'll probably do them at the same time anyway. There we go. Tight fit. Next up, we get to put in the tuning keys. And just got the little screw for the truss rod cover here so I don't lose track of it. Very small screw. I'm not going to tighten these down all the way just yet, because I still have to put the screw in the back. I already aligned all of these before I drilled the holes, so I know that once these are lined up with the holes I've drilled, they're all lined up correctly. Unfortunately, I didn't have a wrench the right size for these, so I get to do an adjustable. And there we have it. Alright, last steps before I put on the strings. I've made this custom little truss rod cover out of some offcuts from the body. I just threw a couple of pieces of walnut onto it, just for style. And I kind of like the asymmetrical bit of only having the walnut on one side instead of both. Okay, so right now I'm using this straight edge to line up down on that end the slot cut in the nut with the space on the bridge so that I can make sure that the strings are going directly over the right part of the pickups. So I haven't drilled the holes for the screws to attach the pickups to the body yet. And I'm just using some painter's tape, masking tape, whatever you want to call it, to hold this in place. So I think I've just about got it right. And yes, bridge pickup looks good. That was the neck pickup with distortion, and this is the bridge pickup. Alright, so the guitar is essentially done. It's a solid mahogany body, two-piece, just joined at the middle, and it's got a thin piece of walnut veneer on the front, just for appearances. The back carve is really nice. Sits really comfortably against my side, which I'm pretty happy about. Pretty standard stuff in the electronics down here. And just a regular old Tunematic bridge, stop-tailpiece, jack. Yeah, all pretty standard. It's a Seymour Duncan jazz model in the neck and a Distortion model in the bridge. Just pretty standard stuff, nothing too fancy. It's a Birdseye Maple Neck and Fretboard. And I've also got the truss rod cover. You can just barely see on camera there. It's just made from offcuts of the body. Yeah, I mentioned earlier there's a little bit of a story behind this neck in particular. About 7 years ago, a friend of mine had asked me to build a guitar for him, and he picked out a bunch of hardware and this neck. So we ordered all of that, and well, that was 7 years ago, and I haven't really heard from him about it since then, so this whole build kind of started as an excuse to finally use this neck, and pretty happy with how it turned out. Only thing left to do, I need to replace this toggle switch, because right now it's an on-off-on toggle switch, which I didn't want. I just ordered this one because it was chrome and matched everything else. But new one's in the mail, and that'll be in there soon. I just don't have it at the time of recording. Yeah, so there you have it. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Alright, one last thing, just in case anybody was curious about my recording setup for this video. I'm using a Line 6 Spider 4. I'm recording it with a Shure SM57 set slightly off-center and angled in. I used the clean and high gain settings for this video. The bass, mid, and treble are all set kind of in the noon position, nothing fancy, no pedals, no effects, no anything else.